Hi guys, welcome to Lexington Consulting YouTube TV. Today we're talking about different cyber attacks, four main cyber attacks in in our industry right now, and overall everywhere. These are the most popular ones, and it's if you are in security or if you're not, it's best to know about these. So I'll just go through this list. The main ones are man-in-the-middle attack, malware, phishing, and password attacks. These are the most common ones. And that's what we'll talk about in this call or in this video. Let's talk about man in the middle attack. What is it? Well, man in the middle attack is when a perpetrator positions themselves in a conversation between a user and an application. So if you're transmitting data from point A to point B outside your organization, man in the middle attack would interrupt that communication and come between that conversation and eavesdrop, and thereby gaining that information. So if you're sending information to from your computer at home to your bank, and you have a man in the middle attack, the perpetrator could interrupt and eavesdrops on that conversation. Um, so there are several types of man in the middle attacks. There's DNS spoofing, there's ARP spoofing, there's IP spoofing. DNS, obviously, pretend you are, if there's a DNS transaction or domain name resolution, instead of it resolving to a particular uh, account or a particular web address, that resolves to a pretend web address. Same thing with IP. Somebody pretending to be the IP address of another company when they're not. Uh, the next one is password attack. This is common. You see that this is basically somebody trying to maliciously authenticate into your account. So if you have Facebook, somebody out in a remote place, somewhere in Asia, somewhere in South America, or wherever it might be, is attempting to log into your Facebook or into your bank account with credentials that they're trying to guess. So they're trying to authenticate without proper authorization. Uh, and the examples of password attacks are brute force, where somebody's just, all right, I'm just going to guess and see if this password is the right one. Another example of a password attack is credential stuffing. You know, when hackers collect people's or different username and password combinations and they publish them in the dark web, and you go as a hacker, you look at all these credentials and you try to use those credentials to crack somebody's account. Another example is dictionary password attack, which is just, hey, I'm going to go through every possible password combination available based on common passwords and attempt to break into this person's account. And that's why things like multi-factor authentication are important. But we'll talk about that in the next session. Another example of a cyber attack is phishing, which is very popular. You get all these continuous cyber security training in your organization, in your company, where they're constantly warning you or doing phishing campaigns to see your level of understanding of what a spam or phishing email looks like. So phishing email is basically where an attacker uh, pretends to be an authentic individual by sending messages to a trusted person. So, say for instance, I'm a hacker. I'm going to start sending emails to Bank of America. I'm going to start sending emails to Alibaba, to Amazon employees, hoping that they'll click on my link and I'll compromise their computer by pretending to be, say, one of their vendors and say, hey, we received an invoice from Amazon. Click on the link below. I want to make sure that this invoice is accurate. If that individual works for Amazon or works for Alibaba or works for Google, is none the wiser. They'll click on that link, not realizing that is an attacker phishing, basically pretending to be a legitimate person, but they're not. Examples of, obviously, of phishing attacks is email phishing, where somebody sends an email, which you spoke about. Now, attackers are using the second type of phishing attack is called smishing, which is somebody using a text message, and I send you a text message and say, "Hey, John Doe, my boss said um, you can take off. You've been given a promotion." And you're receiving this information via text message, which should trigger an alarm, right? And say, click on the link below. So that is phishing. So it's just the difference between smishing and email phishing is obviously one is using text message and another one is using email. The other one is angler uh, phishing, which is basically somebody is pretending to be who they are not, and they're sending on social media. So, say for instance, I could pretend I am the president, and I put create a profile that has a president title of an organization, and I put the picture of the president of that company and pretend I am that person when I'm not, and then I'll start generating conversations with employees. Employees look at my title, they look at my picture, and they assume that I'm authentic, but I'm not. I've just stolen that information and presented it to somebody. So the last one obviously is malware. This is very common. That's why I put it last. This is just unauthorized software on a victim system trying to detect uh, unauthorized action. So malicious software executes on your computer and it tries to take unauthorized actions such as like locking your files or transmitting your data on your computer maliciously to another location without your approval. That's an example of malware. So there's several types of malware. There's the Trojan horse, which is a good example. It pretends to be legitimate software, so you download it. Say for instance you're trying to add an add-in to your browser, and you're looking for certain functionality, and you download this add-in, and instead of that add-in providing the function that you downloaded it for, it's instead spying on your activity on your browser and sending your password information to this hacker who created this add-in. So be careful of Trojan horses because they appear legitimate. It's like they're solving a problem for you, but they're doing more harm than they are. Then there's a virus. That's another example of a malware attack, where you your computer gets infected with a virus, and this virus can do multiple things. And the only difference with the virus is it's not only looking to infect that one thing, one computer, it starts to try to infect other parts of your computer. So, say, for instance, um, um, ransomware, it locks certain files, and not only does it go after one file, it goes after other files within your same system. Then the other one is a worm. A worm is another example of a malware attack, where it's essentially trying to propagate. It's got the properties of a Trojan horse. It's got the properties of a virus. The only difference is it's trying to go out your system and propagate itself. So self-propagation, not only within the system that's infected, but also systems that are within the network. Hope this helped. Again, man in the middle attack, malware, password attacks, phishing. These are the main types of cyber attacks and are popular, and you got to keep an eye on them. So, uh, happy learning, and thanks for tuning in to Lexington Consulting's YouTube TV. Have a great day.